Hello, welcome to this episode of Unloaded, brought to you by Viaplay, with myself and the Fez Meister General. We're missing one, aren't we? He's gone AWOL.
Yeah.
Does anyone know where John Barclay is in Singapore? No idea. He's out in Singapore, we believe. If anyone's watching this and you see a weird bloke with a really pale skin, weak jaw, with a beard covering his face, just probably in a pair of flip-flops and a suit, let us know. Where is he? Where is he? Is he in Singapore, Stevie? Is that right?
Well, that's what he told us. He was on the text earlier on today saying that he was going to make it. However, he is very unwell. He said he's picked up a bug, so maybe he's on his way to the hospital, Shanks.
For a drip. Have you ever had really bad food poisoning?
Yeah.
It is horrific.
Really bad. It's horrific. Absolutely horrific. I had it the day before Tommy Bow's wedding in Wales. So I was out on an Ulster rugby kind of gig, having a few beers, and went out for food or whatever that night, and was up all the next morning spewing, and then had to jump on a flight and go to Wales and go to Tommy Bow's wedding. And it was just sitting around the table, toilet, 2 sips of beer, toilet. It was horrific. When did you have it?
I had it in Portugal. I sort of quite new into dating my wife at the time, and I had some prawns for dinner, right? And we had a tiny room with it was like a little box room with a toilet, obviously with a toilet inside it. And I kept having to go back in there, and I kept having to I was having to cough really loud all the time to try and disguise it and mask the noise. I was like, she's going, what are you doing in there? Are you all right? And I was like, yeah, fine. I just got a shower now. Oh, mate. Embarrassing. But
You're
she married me.
Along comes Polly, and you put the toilet roll down the rag down the toilet. Everything coming out.
Like this, trying to get it out. Anyway, well, as you probably guessed, it's just myself and Stevie today. Franco Smith will be joining us, but there is a bit of a technical issue. So hopefully at some stage he will be on here and we can chat all things Glasgow with him. How have you been, Stevie? You were over in Stockholm at the weekend.
Yeah, of course.
Fun? Did you make some new friends?
Yeah. We've been taken over by Viaplay, so we're at their sort of headquarters in Stockholm. Very impressive, very, very impressive. Unbelievable studios. The staff and everyone associated with Viaplay couldn't do enough for us. In fairness, Shanks, it was busy. 5 games in 30 hours or something. So it was really, really busy. We went out for a bit of food the night before and a couple of beers, but it was generally quiet enough, and I didn't really get to see much of Stockholm, but really impressed by what Viaplay are going to be doing going forward, and obviously you and I are going to be a part of that, so it's going to be great when they get the studio finished off in Dublin.
Did you buy a new blazer? Looked like you had a new blazer on. I've not seen it before. A special one for Stockholm.
Did you like it?
That was right. It's like quilted. It was like had a bit of volume to it.
Bit of texture, wasn't it? It was. I'm trying to think. Was it a freebie? No, it was. Yeah, it was. It was best menswear in Dublin. Thank you very much for that jacket. Let's give you a little shout out.
Yeah, I also like best menswear. I also like Hugo Boss, Giorgio Armani, and anything like that. If anyone wants to sponsor me, I'm available. Thank you. I did have FOMO. I was slightly jealous with all the crew out there, and there was me watching Wales get not hammered but destroyed towards the end. Just when you think you've tied it up 34-13, you can't. They came back. Australia seconds. Anyway, right. this isn't about the autumn internationals. This is about the URC. There were some great games on at the weekend. I've not seen them all. I've watched some of the highlights from them, but I've seen most of them. And the ones I watched, fantastic. And we're going to start with one of the games of the weekend, the Stormers versus the Scarlets. Now, this was a great game. At everything.
Oh, yeah.
Tries galore. It didn't start off too well for the Scarlets. There was quite a few mistakes in the first half. Herschel Janjis just sneaks over. That's an easy try. This one, though, Scarlets ball,
try.
really good. Really good. Duplessis to Smith. And then Zas. You're not stopping him from there. As soon as he's made that decision to cut back inside, it all came from an overthrow, though. Then you've got a couple of big carriers, like Diamani was good, Pocamella was good, Van Rijn was good. And they just had too many big carries. But the Scarlets, they can play, mate. Honestly, they can play. And this was a really good try off a box kick. They get themselves set up, kick receipt. Ryan Combier goes in for his first try. They just get themselves in good position, realise where the space is. But this was the worst, really, for the Scarlets. Just before half-time, they get themselves back into it. And Diamani's so powerful and so elusive. And we're just seeing some more tries here. Duplessis goes over. And they get themselves back into it, though. You know, that was the last try. That was the last try Stormers scored at 42 minutes. And then Scarlets start coming back. But it was just way too late. 29-7 half-time against the Stormers away. That's tough for any team to come back. But they showed me enough in that game, the Scarlets, to be positive. You know, not many teams go over to the Stormers and win. But I saw enough from the Scarlets in the second half to think, yeah, there's something there. There's something to work with. You look dangerous. You just gotta stop giving teams easy tries. You make them work harder for it, and they didn't. But it was
a couple of those tries, Shanks, come off. I think that'll be a disappointing thing for Dwayne Peel and Blackett as well, is that the tries came off their errors as well. You know, especially the early tries. It wasn't like, you know, the Scarlets made the Stormers work really hard for them, and that's pretty easy to cut out. You know, that's just focusing on yourself and focusing on your own individual errors that you can eliminate from your game. And if the Scarlets can do that, we know they can score tries from anywhere. Conbeer was brilliant. Johnny McNichol was arguably player of the match. Like, he was unbelievable every time he touched the ball. I still think, though, they lack a bit of direction. Was it Patchell come on at halftime? They made a change there. Like, who's the best 10? They're going with the young, is it Costello, the young fella? Then all of a sudden it's Patchell 1 week. And I think they just need a bit more consistency. A bit like the Ospreys as well. You know, they've been jumping around a bit with their halfbacks. Where you look at Leinster, who's their number one halfback? Okay, it's Gibson Park, Sexton. You go to Ulster, it's John Cooney, it's Billy Burns. You know, I think they just need to nail down that, and everything else around those lads will sort of come together. But fair play. That was our game of the weekend, I think. Brilliant game. Really good to work on. Would have been a good game to commentate on as well, Shanks, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Do you know, like, your point being, who was their number one? It's like sometimes it's obvious. You know, for instance, for Cardiff, say, Thomas Williams goes to Wales, Lloyd Williams, your 9. You know, so Sam Costello, I think, is number one at the moment, but they're not quite sure, I don't think, whether it's Dan Jones or Reece Patchell who's the number 2. And it does make a difference because it's about partnerships. It's being able to read players. You know, every player's got something different to offer at 10, and you've got to read off that, and you've got to get used to that. So I think they looked quite dangerous when Patrick came on, but then the game was already won by the Stormers. They were pretty comfortable by half time. Ulster Zebre 36-15. Talk me through it. Give it to me.
Yeah, do you know what? you know what, Shanks? The scoreline probably doesn't reflect the way the game went. Zebre had a lot more than the ball, a lot more of the ball than the scoreline suggests. Ulster were scrappy at times. Their discipline wasn't great. Um, Nathan Doak again didn't have a brilliant afternoon. We'll talk about it a little bit later on in the show about the yellow card and a few other decisions that maybe went against him. There was a try scored by Munster against Ulster a few weeks ago. I actually showed it on the PRO about Zebre just getting on the outside. It was Ethan McElroy on that occasion. The Zebre played exactly the same play, and it got on the outside of Jacob Stockdale, and they scored in the corner. It looked like Stockdale, as I think John Barclay alluded to it, that he was towing a caravan behind him when he was trying to chase him down. But it's an area of concern that they don't look as solid in defence as they did last season under Jared Payne. Like everybody's saying that this is the best Ulster squad they've seen in years to go on and challenge for silverware, but they are leaking a few more points this season than they have done under Jared. Of course, I know I've talked about it, and you understand it as well as a former player and being involved in rugby a long time. It does take a bit of time for people to get used to get used to the coaches. But here, it might be the kick up the back. Well, when you say the kick up the backside, they still scored 36 points. But leading into the huge game this weekend against Leinster, maybe that's exactly what they needed. Maybe for them to win by 60 points against Zebre and just cruise through the game and not really get tested. And, it might not serve them as well getting into this really difficult week. But lastly, their maul, still probably the best maul in the whole of Europe. I believe that they've scored a lot of maul tries, and they're going to be very dangerous this weekend as well with that.
Yeah, it's not a bad hit out considering. I mean, you've got to consider a lot of these teams haven't played for a long time, about a month. You know, there might have been some friendly games. I know Cardiff played Bristol, but there is a bit of a game shortage at the moment. So maybe you have to give them a little bit of leeway. But it is probably a nice run out, Stevie. You know, nothing too difficult leading into Leinster at the weekend, which is going to be epic. It's going to be massive, that one. Can't wait to watch
Only concern, Shanks, that come out of the game is that Marty Moore went off at halftime again. And I'm not sure the reason why. There was chat afterwards amongst the media. I was chatting to a few of them that he was being assessed. There was no ankle injury, knee injury. So, of course, everybody's now thinking that it's a head injury again. We know that he's been out for significant periods of time with head knocks. Rory Sutherland, he busted his knee during the Autumn Nations series, so he's not going to be back over the next couple of weeks. So all of a sudden, you're thinking, geez, Ulster are pretty strong. Rory Sutherland, Marty Moore's playing the best rugby of his career. Now they're looking a little bit lightweight when you're going to face Tadhg Furlong and Andrew Porter and co.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. We'll move on to Benetton versus Edinburgh, where our Scottish pundit was going to chirp up here. Just to confirm, people that are watching, he's safe. He's not very well, but he is safe, and he's very much well, I think he's locked himself in the toilet, hasn't he, basically?
He's strapped himself to the bar.
Strapped himself to the toilet, and he's holding on for his life. Benetton, Edinburgh, 4-2. We all know how difficult it is to play in Benetton. Loads of teams have come unstuck there before. I certainly think this season now you don't underestimate them. Maybe you would in the past because, you know, they're an Italian team and teams have gone there previously and won well. But I'd certainly think over the last year, maybe 2 years, they become real difficult team to play there. There was a red card, which we are going to show. We've seen this a few times, not too many times, but it does happen. I'm not sure where I stand on it because I've seen it happen. Various players. It does look a little bit of an unnatural movement to leave your leg up that high, but then if you are off balance, you need to counterbalance it somehow. with your leg. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, what's your view on it? And I'll go with that.
At the time, Shanks, I
'Cause I
was
don't
like,
know.
at the time, I was like, oh, referees ruined the game, completely accidental, as you say, try to counterbalance. And if he had caught him on the top of the head or the side of the face, but it was just at the boot, caught him straight in the middle, and actually, I think, cut him a little bit as well. So, of course, that
Yeah.
looks bad. He stayed down, holding his face, probably was quite sore as well. That didn't help his case. And then I've actually since then went and researched how many like red cards have happened in this occasion, and there seems to be a lot more red cards given out than yellow cards. Jordy Barrett being one of those. I think it was Corbetti, the player that when he jumped up again very high, leading with the knee, and then when you lead with the knee and you're about to take an impact, there's like a excuse the pun, a knee-jerk reaction to like counterbalance and kick your leg out. So I really disagree with throwing out red cards when it's not. That was accidental. There was no purpose in it. There was no intent in it. So, like the red card, somebody throws a punch or somebody goes into a rock and clears you out and smashes you in the back of the head. Then for me, that's a red card. But the laws are the laws, and they're there to protect the players. And unfortunately, the Edinburgh player wasn't protected. And now, on hindsight, I can see both sides. So a bit like yourself, Shanks, I'm sort of sitting on the fence about it. I would have been happy enough if a yellow card or a penalty had been given, and the game went on.
I was trying to think of the one that happened. It was Jordy Barrett, wasn't it? I remember Paolo Dogwu for Wasps did the same as well, just jumped up in the air. And often, like, it's always good to hear 15's point of view on this. And you'll always see, like, Liam Williams commenting on something. And, I'm sure he would agree with it not being a red, because he disagreed on the other two being a red because of being in that position a lot of time and trying to balance yourself. So it's a harsh red, I think. I think when you're chasing a kick, you have to be aware players going to be in the air for a long time, and there's going to be knees, there's going to be boots, and you might need to back off a little bit and time your run a little better, because ultimately that's what's happened. The time of the run hasn't been correct, because you either try and time your run to get off the ground and compete, or you time it and you really slow your feet down. So when Minozzi catches it, then you smash him and you've got momentum. Whilst the run was just sort of ran to the ball, waited there, stood there. Minozzi collected it and then got a boot in the face. So
the laws in that, Shanks, the laws, sorry, have been in recent years to protect the guy who's catching the ball much more so than the guy who's chasing the kick. So now all of a sudden, is there like, for me, if he had it just come down, he probably would have hit him in the air. He probably would have given away just a quick penalty. Like, it would have been an easy penalty. He wouldn't have knocked him flying, but he probably would have hit him in the air. So I agree with you. I think his timing was wrong, but there now seems to be much more of a protection as well for the challenging player in the air. So yeah, listen, I totally agree. It's a harsh red.
Yeah, and that happened after 10 minutes as well. So you'd think, right, Edinburgh have got 70 minutes, really, if they keep the discipline with an extra man. But fair play to Benetton, scored 4 tries, outscored Edinburgh, outplayed them. Goosen goes off then with a yellow card, and then Benetton get another yellow, so down to 13 men. And Immelman ends up scoring. But Rhino Smith, I love watching him play. He is clap, mate. He's just great counter-attacker. Like, he doesn't need much space. You can't take your eyes off him. If you've got a dog leg anywhere in that defensive line, he will find it and he'll punish you for it. He got a yellow card at the end, but I think he's probably, I think, their best player, Benetton's best player.
Yeah, and they were fit. They looked fit. Like, John and I were chatting in the studio, like, oh yeah, Benetton, they'll blow up. like 20 minutes to go, playing with 13 men for 10 minutes, 14 men for 70 minutes. And they're like, they were the ones that finished the game stronger. Like, they were absolutely pumped up. And they were good. And like, they give Edinburgh, as you seen, Shanks, they give Edinburgh probably 2 or 3 chances to go and win it in the last 15 minutes. And Edinburgh couldn't do it. They really struggled to break them down. And we can chat about the Edinburgh attack as much as we want, but when you're away from home and them kind of situations, you have to be able to get across the try line to win the match against 13 men.
Yeah.
But they still got a point out of it. And yeah, it's a bit of a bogey ground for them.
Rob Russell scores a hat-trick for Leinster. I've moved for a while. 40 points to 5, and hopefully we'll get Franco Smith on to chat through this. But Glasgow's up and down season just continues. Can't win away from home, decent at home. End up going to the best team in the league. Yeah. But Leinster back to doing what Leinster do best.
Yeah, they were good. They were clinical. Lots of young guys on show. I think the guy Crossgrave come off the bench. That's him there, just throwing the pass. I think that was maybe his debut or second appearance. Looked really, really sharp. Just a bunch of young fellas going out and expressing themselves. Shanks, well coached. Come through the school system. You can step straight from that into a Leinster team and still perform pretty well. I think Glasgow obviously getting pumped by 70 points there last year, and it was always going to be tricky for them. But I felt like their big players didn't really stand up for them. Like, that's what you need away from home. Your rock star signings, like your guys that you rely on in the URC playoffs that actually stand up. Yeah, Dempsey, he seems to have fallen off the cliff. Like, yeah.
Ever since he got selected.
Yeah,
for Scotland.
He could have got a game. He could have got a game for Australia. Shanks, they were down to the bare bones.
Oh, I know, and still won. Can't believe it. Yeah. So a nice little run out for Leinster as well, leading up to what we think is going to be the game of the weekend with Leinster and Ulster. Munster, Connacht. Talk me through it.
Yeah, it was physical. It was a good derby, considering the Irish derbies this season haven't been great, Shanks. I've worked on a lot of them, and you give the big build up, it's going to be amazing, and then it's just fallen flat on its face. And I know a couple of those have fallen to the weather conditions, especially down in Galway and Limerick. But this was an Interpro that had everything. Really, really good. Both teams fairly strong. Connacht team, obviously, in their scrum, were so dominant. I thought the referee could have given them a couple of more decisions, especially in the first half. A real pivotal moment when Connacht got a penalty off the scrum, and Buckley stood up and there was a slight push, and then there was a bit of a fracas, come in. The next thing, the penalty was reversed. Munster kicked to the corner, and they get a try off it, and it's just really fine, small margins between the two sides. I don't think there was much between them. Antoine Frisch, the French / now emerging Ireland player, he was pretty good in the centre for Munster. Obviously, Malachi Fekitoa to come back in there as well. I think that'll be a really good partnership going forward. There's so many injuries as well to come back. And the other talking point, Shanks, was that they played their Irish players that were in the Autumn Nation Series. The likes of Ulster and Leinster, they give all their guys time off, but it just shows you that Munster certainly felt like they're in a bit of a hole further down the league, and that this was a crucial game for them to get the win, and I think they just about deserved it in the end.
Who have they got this weekend? Edinburgh away, Munster have got, and Connacht, Benetton at home. So another couple of big games really for that. I did skip past this one actually. The Bulls, Ospreys, 43 points to 26. The Bulls and the Stormers, I think, seem the hardest places for teams to go. Bulls start off really well with a line out for the Creel try. You could argue this was forward. It's really nice interlinking play, but this final pass, to me, that looks a bit forward. Similani.
You're only saying that because it's against a Welsh region.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Look at Nissan Carr here. That's a quality finish. There is no way you should be scoring that try, mind.
No.
But it looked like the Bulls really went for the Ospreys around the outside, especially in the wider channels. They got a lot of go forward there. This one is off a kick receipt. I mean, Luke Morgan there has made a decision to back off, that which ultimately makes the decision for the Bulls really easy. And it's just too easy for Steenkamp to score a try. They do come back, though, the Ospreys. Kieran Williams, we spoke about him a lot. He's getting a lot more game time now. He's back fit. He creates a try. He ends up scoring a try as well. That's Jack Walsh scoring. That's a nice little dab through there from Walsh for T and Thomas Wheeler to score a try. But the big one, really, this one was the big one, because that makes it 31-14 half-time. T and Thomas Wheeler brings the scores back to 24-14. But that low try at half-time, just before half-time, 31-14, you're not coming back in altitude against the Bulls unless something unbelievable happens. But they did okay. I mean, I don't think you can be too harsh on teams going out to South Africa and not coming back with results, because it doesn't happen very often. So they scored a couple of tries, but ultimately, first half, 31-14, game over. It's then, like, if you're a Bulls player, you can actually really enjoy it. You can really enjoy the game, because the game is sort of won. The pressure's taken off you a little bit. I always thought that when you're leading by so many points in a game, you can actually just, your concentration levels don't have to be there as much. It's not such a pressurized position. You can actually, stand back and enjoy playing rugby.
Do you think the Bulls can go as deep in the competition, Shanks, this year? Do you think they've got, with obviously the likes of Kurtley Arensa to come back in, a couple of other box as well?
Yep, don't see why not, mate. Don't see why not. As long as they get into knockout rugby at the end, the playoffs, you wouldn't bet against them, because they've got a really good squad. Kurtley Arensa was amazing at the weekend, wasn't he? Try scored.
Class.
Man, he's even better because it was against England, but it was an amazing finish. It was so good. We'll move on to Lions 33, Dragons 25. Sam Davis, I thought, looked pretty good in attack. And I know he hasn't started many games. JJ Hanrahan started at the start of the season, and it was only the Ospreys game when there was an injury and Sam Davis came into 10, and he looked really good. He had a good start for the Dragons, putting a couple of players through holes. He put James Benjamin through a really nice hole at the start. They should have scored. These are opportunities you have to take. Like, takes it really flat, takes a tackle, puts James Benjamin through. Next phase then, again, makes a really good decision, sort of double pumps it, puts Wainwright through the hole. He's in, he drops it, and it goes forward. And those are the ones you got to take. Then the Lions ended up opting for the power. Went tight, went for the power. Strowley scores 19-6 at halftime, so not horrific. 13 points difference. It's not too bad. But I'm not sure. I've had a look at this a few times. I think this is a red card for Van Week. This was early on in the second half. It's not, you see more forceful ruck entries, but he knows the head is there. It's Joe Davis. He knows his head is there, and he's gone for it. And he's not tucked his arm, but he's made clear contact with the head. There's no other place his shoulder can go. He gets a yellow card. Personally, I think that's a red. Where do you stand on it?
Hold on a second. Rewind that back and play it in real time. because it's like he gets like stunned for a second, and then he just as if he's just going to get like. Oh, come on. Yes, there is. I think a yellow card's definitely the right call there. Like, if anything, I'm not sure it's I'm not sure it's the shoulder as well. Well, he tried his best. He tried his best to get him red carded, didn't he? Like,
what else? What else is he? What's he doing entering that ruck if he's not going for the head? There's no need. The ball is there. He's gone for Joe Davis's head. It might not be as forceful as we've seen from other clear-outs, Steph Toit, but he's gone for it.
Is that what got him? Is that what got him off? Then is that why it was a yellow card?
I'm actually not sure why it was it.
Yeah.
What the Welsh team said. Louis Nell, Welsh teams are touring better than they were last year. Yeah, correct. The more you play teams, the more you understand, the more you can break them down, the more analysis you can do. And certain teams haven't been affected as much, I don't think, by this year's Six Nations, the Dragons being one of them. But Dragons then score with Tompkinson, crossfield kick. They're down a player, the Lions, Van Week. It's quite a well-organised try, a lot like what Georgia did to Wales when Alex Cuthbert went off. You just got to find the space. When there's a back down. I think it's way worse defending when you've got a back with a yellow card than it is a forward. Often you can just hide a forward. You pack down with 2 7s, or if there's not much of a blind side, you leave that for the 9. But when you lose a back, there is space out there, and the good teams will find it. The worst thing, though, after that Tompkinson try, is Hendrickse ends up scoring with 14 men straight from the kickoff. Wainwright drops the ball, and then it becomes a penalty. They kick to touch because whoever picks it up is an offside position, and then Hendrickse scores with 14 men. You can't be doing that. You can't be gifting teams easy territory, easy possession. I mean, a bounce pass is hard to defend, but you've got to be doing better than that. But Steph Hughes glides through at the end, offset piece. Fees Shea Hope. They don't give up, but it's too many mistakes for the Dragons. Right, we've got to fly on because Franco's coming on soon to the Sharks versus Cardiff. Now, for the neutral, the game I think of the round was the Stormers Scarlets, but in terms of results of the round,
this is ridiculous.
I don't know if anyone would have picked this, mate. Not at all.
No, definitely not.
Not at all.
Well, you can chat through it, but I didn't see the game live, and when I seen the result, I was like, Cardiff are capable of this, Shanks. They're capable of this.
They are. Watch it. Like, he scored a try against the Dragons from the kickoff. Thomas Young. He's got bags of pace. He's brilliant in the breakdown. And because there's a lot of form players for Cardiff at the moment, they're not getting selected for Wales either, which is great for Cardiff and it's great for Dai Young because he's got access to all these players. That was a great kick chase. A mistake, by the Sharks, but Cardiff pounced on it. Cardiff's discipline was good. Cardiff's defence was awesome. Ray Lilo was good. Cardiff's breakdown was really good as well. You had Young, Arhip, Ray Lilo, all good in the breakdown. They took their opportunities. The kicking was excellent. There was a massive amount of rain before the game, which you think might actually suit the Sharks. But Cardiff, made the most of that. And like Lloyd Williams' kicking was good. Jared Evans' kicking was good. It was a real good spirited performance. And it's a performance where you actually sit back and think, hold on a minute. This is a quality team now. That they seem full of confidence.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Hold on. The only team in Wales to win in South Africa. But my point being, it looked like a quality team, and if they can continue that form, then they'll finish in the top 8, which is what they want.
Shut up and get Franco on. Get Franco on.
That's right, mate. Yeah, Franco. Hello, Franco. Are you there?
Good evening, gentlemen. Yes, I'm here.
We've got you. Current head coach for Glasgow Warriors, Franco Smith. Thank you for joining us. It's very kind of you. I know there's been a technical issue. Franco, how are you? How's it been? Give us a review of your season so far.
First of all, you can see I'm wearing a jacket inside. It's cold and so yes, no, it's been an interesting period for me, having had no visa and then got a visa and then not traveling to South Africa, then missing this and that, and traveling down by car and not flight. A lot of interesting things happening around the team, but I've obviously I met a bunch of brilliant people here. Great setup. The club's really very professional, and that goes without saying. But no, I found it absolute joy to come in here, and it's good to get back coaching again. You know, I was a little bit wearing a tie for a bit of a time behind the desk, and which was good and purposely done so. Obviously, I had some necessary objectives and structure had to be put in place in Italy, but the dream was dream. I think I'm still drive to be on the pitch, and now out here at Glasgow, it's good to be back on the field.
How different is it, Franco, coaching for Glasgow than it would be, say, Italy? What are the different challenges you've got?
Yeah, look, the first thing is when I coached Italy, and if you coach an international team, you depend on your club coaches to supply the players or bring the players through and prepare them well for this period or for the period international windows. You know, you've got we actually battled COVID a little bit, but also, you know, you get them for 6 weeks or for 5-6 weeks at a time, and you depend absolutely on the club having those guys fit, fast, strong, powerful, resilient, and you're just there to align them a little bit. Where club coaching is completely different, as you guys would know. You know, you're there to produce a player so that the country's team can perform properly. So, big challenge for me back with Italy was obviously that I had all the young guys, a big turnover. We saw that, you know, at that stage the two franchises weren't performing when there was new direction needed, and the high performance part of things needed to be put in place. Where in a year, if I can put it in here in Glasgow, we basically the engine, the guys that's producing the players to perform. I know that goes without saying. So the main difference and my big challenge in Italy was to have a physical side. I think you'll know that, as maybe in Scotland, where they don't produce the tallest locks. So we have that was an important part to establish a front five and some physicality, and to finish all the pressure built with a bit of an attacking mindset. And now we've maintained that. I think if I just can finish the Italian part, I think both the clubs are showing, especially the national team now has shown, you know, if they're physical, they've got a powerful base. They play the brand and they back the mentality of creating pressure through the ball in hand. They can be a real threat. So that was enjoyable, and to see all the structure fall in place is fantastic, and compliments to everybody that bought into that.
What do you do with the second rows that aren't quite tall enough then in Scotland? Do you put like some inner soles in their boots, some longer studs?
We talk about flank locks. They're all in the same height, more or less. So yeah. No, we fortunately at Glasgow we've got Richie and JP Dupree. That obviously makes a difference. Good not to be the tallest guy in the circle before the game for a change. Just tongue in the cheek, you know, those guys. So yeah, no, it's good to have. Yes, the potential here at Glasgow is good, and we're looking forward to broaden the amount of players that can play at this level. And yeah, that is the challenge here.
Franco, just before we touch on the game, obviously against Leinster at the weekend, just your own opinion. You've obviously coached around the world, different competitions. What do you make of the United Rugby Championship now as a competition? It's much more competitive with the South African teams in it. What's your feeling for it been like since coming into the job at Glasgow?
Yeah, Stephen, thanks for that question, because obviously I've coached Magners League, Rabo Direct, Pro 12, and Pro 14, and now into Pro 16. I actually managed to have a good run around that, and it's obviously improved a lot. It's the quality, the intensity, the number of players needed to be competitive. Definitely, and having been out of it now for 2 years, where I depended on those players, I actually followed it much closer to understand how much we're behind, or what needs to be done. So, and it's obvious, first, before the South African teams came in, I think there was every year a progression. The quality of the tries that have been scored, the ball in hand approach from the Irish teams, especially. We know the Welsh sides always tried to play a little bit, but the way they have managed to produce a ball in hand approach in a wet weather environment was extraordinary. Quality of the forward play, how much that improved. So, and again, now with the South African teams adding a little bit of grunt, resilience to it. From the start, I said also here that the fact of the matter is not that it will be difficult to play the South African teams. The teams in Europe are going to make a step up to match that. So it's obvious. Also, we all speak about the South African teams, what they bring. For me, the most interesting thing now is how much the European teams have adapted to match that. So, in all around, I think their influence has been great, and it's good stimulation also for the other clubs to produce much better performances, and to produce maybe a little bit a harder aspect around the front five, and how you stop momentum, and how you you front up to those guys, especially away from home.
Yeah, I think last season gave us all a bit of a taste for it, and then this season, the rugby, I think, has just been on a different level, which has been brilliant. And a team who were probably just a bit more clinical at the weekend were Leinster. You played okay in large parts of the game. You held on to the ball, but you just couldn't conjure up enough try-scoring opportunities. And when you did, you just couldn't get over the line. What was the disappointing thing for you, Franco, coming out of the game? And obviously, could you touch on the difference of why you can get your players to run through brick walls in front of your home crowd, but when you go away, you almost seem to go into your shell a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I'm going to start by saying, obviously, this weekend, I think we made errors in the beginning of the game. There was 6 attack platforms lost through not kicking the ball into touch, through quick taps maybe that we encourage, but just to get into the game, we got turned over once or twice within a meter from the try line in the first half. And then obviously there was a run of 6 consecutive penalties in which they scored 3 tries from, and it was, it's a disappointment. The result. If you just look at the result, I was asked after the game, is that a true reflection? I definitely don't think so. I think we from big periods of the time, I was very satisfied. Playing with the team, we decided that we're going to stick with the guys that played against Benetton, give them a chance to get a second go at it, and I still think, and I said it to the team this week, that we definitely playing good rugby away from home. We need to understand that we got to play to the other side of the line, limit our error rate away from home. I do feel, and it's hard to talk on a public platform about sports psychology, but I do feel last year they had a run of 7 games toward the end of the season. All 7 was away from home, and it does bring what you guys have both played, and maybe you guys have the answer now as players, as ex-players. What can one do? We have all put basically a lot of plans in place, and I still believe we're 1 win away from becoming complete, closer to the complete product. So it's just how to limit those errors and get that mentality. And again, we scored some unbelievable tries. We've played some really good rugby at home, and it was moments for me against obviously the Benetton, the first game away. It was our first game. We didn't play warm-up games up to there, so I would always take that out of the equation. But if you look at that Ospreys game and the Sharks away, and then obviously the weekend, it's just moments. It's 3 or 4 moments in the game that changed, and then suddenly you chase a score of 21 points.
Some teams, Franco, like for this break, there's been a month off, because we've had the Autumn Nation Series. Some teams cope better, some don't. Is it frustrating, especially after the back of that Benetton win at home, that you can't crack on? You have to then take a 4-week break. And then after that 4-week break, you've got Leinster at the RDS, sorry. How do you deal with that? Is it frustrating for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys would know that a bit of a break in between these high intense games is important. But the moment you go over 2 weeks, you maybe reinvent the wheel again. And I'm not going to use that as an excuse this week. I do feel that the first 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, I felt we were just a little bit rusty and not finding a rhythm. I think we picked up nicely, and I think we're going into this next week with a much better preparation. But again, I think the stop-start is a little bit of a concern. Maybe not necessarily 4 weeks, but if we can narrow it down to 2 or 1 week, it will actually suit better, I would reckon.
Franco, just your rugby IQ is a lot higher than mine and Shanks put together, that's for sure. And you know that there's some real quality in this league, the likes of Leinster, even Ulster away from home. You understand that. However, where do you envisage your Glasgow team finishing this season? Is it to make the top 8, try and get back into at the top table of European rugby again next season, and then just keep building on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think we set our standards high. I think if we're going to get it right in the next 10 weeks, next 8 to 10 weeks, it's going to be important for us. I definitely feel that we are building a brand that can produce results, and I'm excited about that. I'm not going to, because of my because of my experience in this regard, I'm not going to really say yes, we want to win this thing or we're going to get in the top 8. Yeah. I think we shoot too low and we shoot too high. We're going to be the best we can be. I think this team has got potential to go a long way. We just mustn't get ahead of ourselves, and I think we must bridge this away from our own performances, and that is the main ingredient for me. And the next step, I think I'll be limiting the possibility if I put a cap on it. We just want to be the best we can be, and I think we're coming to the understanding of what we want. Now space identification is maybe something we got to work on going forward. Our forwards have got to make sure that we've got a consistent performance around the park week after week. So once we get a little bit of consistency, I think we can be even more competitive, and then you never know.
Yeah, man. Good luck this weekend against Zebre, because it's a great opportunity for you to get an away win on the board. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Get warm, put the heating on.
I will do. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we'll speak to you soon. Thank you, Franco. It's always great, isn't it? Listening to coaches, their point of view. Yeah, because they look at games completely different to how we look at games. And you're right about rugby IQ. They live and breathe rugby, whilst we live and breathe rugby, golf, corporate work, media work. They're so intense.
He touched on it there, Shanks, and like a few people maybe question Franco Smith being the right candidate for the Glasgow job. But like, he's been in the Pro 12, the Magners League, the Pro 14. He understands all the teams in this league. He's been to the RDS. He's been to Ravenhill back in the day. He knows it. So I think like he seems like the type of fella that I wouldn't mind playing rugby for. I think he would get the lads fairly tuned in and riled up and ready to go before matches. So hopefully that he can get the Glasgow team playing very, very well, and they're always a hard team to play away from home.
And also, having international experience as well, and knowing the issues that clubs face with, your countries, access to players, everything like that. So it's great you can see it from both sides. I agree with you. I think he's been a good signing, and you want them to do well away. And it's like you're looking at the fixtures, you're thinking, right, we need a Zebre now. We need a team like that.
Yeah.
A team like that, maybe a Dragons previously, but they look like they've turned a bit of a corner. You need to find an away win somewhere, and we hope it starts for Glasgow on the weekend, because he's our new friend, because he came on the show. Rants of the week, Stevie.
Yeah.
Have you got any rants?
Oh, who was this? Stephen Nice. Just keep still a little bit. Sometimes Osaf is struggling to digest the accent. Hopefully,
Yeah.
found that.
Basically,
So
your accents.
Hopefully, he understood that.
Your accent's too aggressive, mate. Can you soften it up a bit so people can hear? If you wouldn't mind.
So,
all right.
Any South African fans out there, Concocanibus. So we'll see you later on in the year. Anyway, what are we doing, Shanks? Rant of the week. Rant of the week.
Yeah.
And there's only one rant for me, and that has to be the decision in the Ulster versus Zebre game. It's young Nathan Doak with the tackle, and we can see the Zebre player. Have you got his name there? Have you got his name, Shanks? No.
No.
Have a look at the running order quickly. No, we don't have the name. But anyway, the Zebre player goes looking to try and get Nathan Doak red carded. We're going to see it again. Like this needs to be stamped out. He lifts himself up and he tucks his chin underneath to actually try and land on his head.
Simone
he purposely tries to land on his own head. He was like, he could have just landed on his chest and put his arm out. But I had a few people tweet me and text me saying it's the most unnatural thing when you're falling to take your hand away from trying to break your fall. So if you're going to fall to the ground, the first thing you do is put your hand out to try and break your fall. He takes his hand away and then tucks his neck. So, like, you seen it, I seen it, everybody in the TV caught a glimpse of it, and they were like, that guy's purposely. I reckon if that had been Nigel Owens, he would have went, hold on a second, you come over here. There's no need for that. We're going to stamp this out of the game. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on this occasion. However, that's it. What's your thoughts?
You brace yourself and your hands out there to stop you fall. You don't. I agree with you. It's unnatural. Your hand initially goes down, but then I think he probably thinks, hold on, if I land on my head now, I might be able to get him a red card. And his arm breaks. He doesn't end up softening his fall at all. I agree. I think he's looking to land on his head, and he's looking to try and get a red card to Doak. So I'm with you, and I backed you up, mate, online. All right. I've not seen that before. I've not really seen that. I don't think I've seen that in a game before where someone's actually looked to land on their head, and he could have done serious damage to himself.
Yeah, he could have done. The thing is, too, Shanks, like if the referee took a different opinion and red carded Nathan Doak, they've got Leinster this week, and then of course they've got Sale away from home and La Rochelle at home. So, all of a sudden, he could have got a 3-match ban out of some plonker just trying to, be smart and get a player sent off. So, let's cut that out of the game. There's enough yellow and red cards in the game at the minute that are talking points, and we don't need this.
Yeah, fine. Right, we're going to have to quickly go through a preview of the games. We'll just rip them off now. Sharks, Ospreys. Sharks. I think you see a bit of a reaction from the Sharks. They were so poor, I thought, at the weekend. I've not seen them play that bad in this competition ever. Edinburgh, Munster. Ooh, Edinburgh. It's at home.
Yeah, Edinburgh.
Okay, Stormers, Dragons.
Stormers.
Yep. Zebre, Glasgow. I'm going Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Okay. Connacht, Benetton.
Connacht.
Connacht, yeah. Bulls, Cardiff.
Jeez.
Bulls.
After that result at the weekend, like.
I know. Like any team that goes away, you'd be happy when they come back from South Africa with maybe 2 points. Maybe 2 points. Like they got 5 in a game. You know, it was a huge result from. But I think Bulls. I think the power game the Bulls have. Leinster, Ulster.
Oh, well, Ulster, of course, they did the double on Leinster last year, home and away. Leinster beat Ulster at the Kingspan earlier on in the season, and I think they're going to beat Ulster again this weekend. They'll have a few of their big guns back, rested. Little week off in the Maldives, catching a few rays, few Heineken's, chilling out, and then back in full week of training. It's straight back into beast mode, and I think Ulster, if Ulster play well, if Ulster play to their potential, this game will be tight. It will, because I don't think there's as big a margin between these two teams, Shanks, as some people might think.
It's a massive game. I hope it delivers, but I think probably Leinster will win it just. And the Lions, Scarlets. I'm going for the Scarlets. I think the Lions are there for the taking. I think if the Scarlets can get it together, if they can stop stupid mistakes and gifting tries to teams, they'll score tries. Scott Williams at 12, Reece Patchell at 10, John Davis had a couple of nice touches in the game, Combier, McNichol, Tom Rogers. It's a quality backline. They just need to sort the basics out. If they do that,
and the Lions up front they have a half decent maul, good maul defense. They do get lazy. Oh, this could be a cracker. This could be like the Ulster Lions game. What was it, 45-39? Like it could be a real belter of a game. Like, but I'm not writing Scarlets off, Shanks.
Nope, no, I don't think you can. But there's some great games coming up this weekend. So that is it, Stevie. We've done it. We've done it without our mate John. John, we hope you're all right, mate. We're thinking of you, and hopefully we'll see you next week. If not, let's just get Bobby on, shall we? He's a better bloke anyway, the skin stat. Isn't he? He's much nicer.